Welcome back, everyone. So this video will go over our fourth discussion board post on reactions to air quality issues. So last week in our Milestone 1 post, we covered the majority of the environment section of our environmental issues project paper, with the exception of societal and political issues subsections. So in our discussion board post this week, we'll take a look at societal and political reactions to air quality issues. So this will give us a little bit of a background into what we should include in our environmental issues paper. Even though your environmental issues paper might not be covering air quality, at least you can see basically some examples of how to go about searching for societal reactions to your particular environmental issue and maybe political reactions to your environmental issue, so that you can start formulating those subsections for your paper. And again, those portions of your paper, we're not turning those in ahead of time for feedback from me, so it's a good idea that you start formulating your responses to those subsections now, so that when your paper is due in week 7, you have less work to do. I highly advise that you start working on that this week while it's fresh in your mind. So let's take a look specifically at this discussion board post worth 40 points. So in regard to air quality issues, it says here that global programs have been developed to address these issues. So the first thing that you'll want to do when you approach this discussion board is you're going to do this little lab simulation, just like last week with the water quality. So this model, just like last week, it kind of simulates different factors that affect air pollution. So in this simulation, you can see different factors, both environmental factors as well as human caused factors that can affect air quality. So you can play around with it. So for example, if we add more cars on the road, like simulating a city, how will that impact the pollution? So you can see the primary pollutants are increasing, okay? What if we add more cars to the road, but we make sure that they're all electric? What will that do? Okay, so you can see how that levels off the primary pollutants, but the secondary pollutants from the power plant are still increasing. Hey, look at that decrease in the primary pollutants because of those electric vehicles. So, you can see what happens while you play around with these factors. What happens when you increase the rain? Okay, it started to rain. How does that impact the pollutants? So play around with these different factors. And then that will, start your discussion board. So for your initial discussion, you're going to be exploring how the different variables change the air quality index, okay? So that should be part of your discussion. Which factors play the biggest role in air quality based on that model, okay? So think about the environmental factors that played the biggest role. Think about the human impacts that played the biggest role, okay? Next, you're going to answer the following question. Do you believe societal or political reactions have made a bigger difference in reducing air pollution in the United States? Consider the following questions in your response. So how is the Clean Air Act regulating human activity in relation to air pollution? So that question, you'll need to go into the readings this week. Okay, so this week we have chapter readings. So for chapter 13, in chapter 13, it goes into the, what is a pollutant, as well as the policies. Okay, so, take a look at the Clean Air Act and, base your answer based on what you're finding in the chapter reading. Okay, what did you learn from this chapter to help address the question there. We also have additional resources for you to look at. So we have the EPA and we have Air Now. So Air Now will give you up-to-date information of air quality within your area. So you can just type in your city or state. So I can type in, for example, I'm near Portland, Oregon. So right now I can tell that I'm in good air quality, but looking around my state, I can see that some areas are in the yellow, so that's moderate. And we can even see, past areas that, we can kind of look at recent trends and areas that maybe have gone in the moderate zone. So you can see here in February and March, the beginning of the month, it was in the moderate category, so PM 2.5, so that stands for particulate matter 2.5. So, we reached a moderate level of particulate matter in our air. So that indicates probably there was, burning taking place in the air during that time. So you can, kind of see where your air quality is, and then you can click on which pollutant, if there is one, may have been, measured and what was going on there. Okay, so that'll give you kind of an indication of your current state. You can also look up here for other information. Okay, so here's past data by your state. Okay, so you can compare it to what you see now. We also have, with the EPA, there's a lot of information here. So we have an interactive map, so it'll give you some information that you can narrow in on your particular area and add different layers to it. Okay, so it's a little harder this time of year just because of the weather keeps things down, but you can add layers. So you can see, click here, select the layer, and then you can look at, active levels of, for example, ozone, and see if there's any active levels. Okay, so you can see if there was a measurement that took place. And, here's the measurement that took place in Hawthorne in South Salt Lake. Okay, so you can, actually look up that daily data if you'd like. Okay, so there's a lot of information. Also in here we have concentration maps, so you can select a particular pollutant such as ozone, and you can look at maybe the entire US and see if that is something that's a problem throughout the entire United States at this period of time. Or you can select a different temperature or date. There's all sorts of stuff that you can choose from here. So use this information to back up your discussion there. We also have laws and regulations. Okay, so you can see what are the laws and regulations in regards to air quality. Okay, so you can use that to help back up your information as you're describing that. Okay, so all of this, you have to go back into the prompt and remember you're answering this question. Do you believe societal or political reactions have made a bigger difference in reducing air pollution in the United States? So, do you think it was more of societal reactions? Do you think it was more of a political reactions? Which made a bigger difference in reducing air pollution in the United States? And you can kind of think of it also in your own area. Who were the bigger proponents that drive policy in your area? Was it, a local group of, community members that enacted some sort of, push towards regulation that made it to the ballot box? Or was it, a government organization that set forth those policies? So, you might have to do some digging into that. And then, look closely at the Clean Air Act and, think about how the Clean Air Act regulates human activity in relation to air pollution. You might have to go back and do a little history lesson. So what did our, pollution, what did air pollution look like in the 70s and 80s before, especially in the 70s before the Clean Air Act went into effect? Why did the Clean Air Act go into effect? And was that a response to, societal pressures or political pressures? So you might have to do some digging for that. And then, are there any additional programs in your city or state that are regulating air quality? So you might have to dig into some local sources. So for example, like I might just go into Google and say, Portland air quality. So Portland Air Quality Index, U.S. air pollution. Here, we have pretty good air quality. But historically, there's been some issues with our air quality. And, a lot of it has to do with burning of wood and usually it's just burning of plant material that contributes to it. So increased household wood burning and things like that, and then particularly during inversion layers. So, here's more information I can talk about. So about my particular area. So how does Portland, Oregon reduce its air quality? So we do have burn bans in effect, I know, in my area. So there's particular times of the year when people, especially in rural areas, are not allowed to burn their wood piles. During those times they have to, wait until there's, not an inversion layer in order to do that. And, there's some information just in this article I can see right here. There's, 2018, reduce the impact of wood burning. So there's resources out there that can help you address that part of the discussion board. So you just have to, kind of look for research on it. Okay. Before you submit your initial discussion board post, remember to reread this. So it says here, use examples from your text, okay, and other peer-reviewed resources to support your decision. So, you need to be referencing the air quality model. You need to be referencing the textbook. You need to be addressing each of these questions using examples, okay? Don't forget to include in-text citations at the end of every sentence that includes information from a source. And then at the bottom of your initial post, you'll have the full references stated. Okay, so this initial discussion board post, it looks like it'll take at least 2 or 3 paragraphs minimum, okay? So that'll be due by Thursday midnight. And then this case, we have 2 separate response posts that have different prompts. Okay, so you'll choose 2 different students to respond to. In your first response post, you're going to read through your peer's response, okay, and then you're going to explain how your particular community or state has reacted to issues of air quality and discuss the outcome of this reaction. So, again, that's diving deeper into your own personal community and looking at what your community has done to address its own air quality issues that might be different. That's different from the federal level. That's different from the Clean Air Act. And, what has been the reaction from a societal point of view? Have people agreed with this? Has there been, some people within your particular community that feel that it's like government overreach? So what is the reaction to that? Okay. And then in a different student's post, you're going to read another student post, and then you're going to identify at least one global initiative or program that works to regulate air quality. So this is a global initiative, not a federal or state or local initiative. Okay, so compare the impact of the global reaction to air pollution to that of the reactions your peer discussed. Okay, so this is at a completely different level. So instead of viewing, here in the United States, what's the impact globally, especially since air pollution travels, and so you can think about the impact of one country's policies might have on a nearby country. Okay, so if one country has laxed air quality standards, how that can affect a nearby country that may be downwind of that polluting country. So you can actually think of what's the global reaction, and come up with some answers to address that in the other peer response. So your 2 peer responses are due by Sunday midnight. If at any point you have any questions on how to answer any of these parts of your discussion board posts, please either submit your questions to the General Questions Discussion Board found under the course menu, Discussion Board, or you can email me directly. Good luck, everyone.